So welcome to day 2 of the intentional challenge. Yesterday we had an opportunity to talk about getting to the root of things. What are the justifications and reasons as to why we struggle with taking action? Today we are about to check our benefits, okay? Before we dive right in, I need you to hit that subscription button below. That way you can stay up to date on newly released content on a regular basis. So let's dive right in. So remember when the pandemic hit, everybody was all up in arms trying to figure out who was essential, who wasn't, what businesses were needed, what businesses weren't, right? And I find that to be very comparable when we handle stress, right? During times of crises or distress, we find ourselves trying to figure out what needs to go, what needs to stay, what is essential and what isn't. And regardless of how impractical things may be, we struggle with letting go of the things that are near and dear to our heart because of their familiarity and the sentimental value that comes along with them. And this not only goes for our material things, whether it's like the TV or old clothes or whatever the case may be, but I'm also talking about thoughts, feelings, and emotions. All of those things, and even memories too, because there are some memories that we tend to hold on to way past their due date. And that's what kind of gets us stuck. That's what kind of keeps us from being intentional altogether. Now, if you're just tuning into the intentional challenge, welcome, but I want you to double back because there was a little exercise that we needed to complete prior to watching this video. And in the last episode, like I mentioned, we talked about all of the justifications, reasons, and excuses as to why we struggle with taking action. Now, really quickly, I need you to pull out that list of core beliefs. What are your reasons, justifications, and excuses, and what perceived consequences or benefits are associated with them? And the reason why I say perceived consequences and benefits is because the reason why we struggle with letting those things go is because we actually do benefit from them. Yes, that is right. We still gain something out of even the most problematic ways of thinking. And we can see that being a hindrance to our progression. Like I mentioned, the goal is to close the gap in between where we're at and the person that we're trying to become, which is our ideal self. And the crazy thing is, even though we know that these things are very detrimental to our overall well-being, we have a tendency to still romanticize the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, or what could potentially happen if we literally continue down that path, which is still destruction at the end of the day. It's kind of like, you know, when we have that ex that just pops up out of nowhere and it's just like, oh, well, maybe he's changed. Maybe she's, not as bad. Knowing doggone well, bruh, sis, it's time to let him go. It's time to let him go. Now, I really need you to sit down and comb through those lists of core beliefs because those can become our go-tos for the way that we manage stress and the way that we operate in our day-to-day living. And you're probably like,
Sierra, that's not true. I know when something is problematic. I know when to let these things go.
All right. I hear you. I get it. I feel what you're saying. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just here to give you the information. You do what you wish with it. But in the meantime, in between time, here are 3 ways that we tend to benefit from our maladaptive coping mechanisms. The first one being temporary alleviation or relief from our presenting issues and problems. We will lean on our negative ways of thinking and our negative behaviors as ways to circumvent truly addressing the issues at hand. Because let's be honest, who likes sitting with uncomfortable emotions, right? We do not like pain. And so we'll find every way imaginable to make sure that we go around it rather than going through it. When dealing with this particular benefit, it's important for us to practice relentless honesty with ourselves, right? And when I say practice relentless honesty, is just literally call it out. Make sure that we are holding ourselves accountable when it comes to the things that we're trying to avoid. Because at the end of the day, trying to push it off and pretending like it's not there really doesn't work for us. The problem is still there. So we have to find ways to be intentional with working through those things so that we can get to the other side of it. Another way that we tend to benefit from our maladaptive coping mechanisms is receiving attention and a desired response from a specific entity, whether it be friends, family, that ex that we were talking about earlier, or even from a job. We usually see this amongst individuals who utilize learned helplessness as a maladaptive coping mechanism. And so what learned helplessness is literally taking on the identity of being the victim, or woe is me, or poor me. And what fuels that are enablers, individuals who see that specific behavior but refuse to change the response, or will swoop right in to provide some level of cushion instead of allowing reality in life to hit you so that you can experience it from a different perspective. We also see this amongst individuals who are very manipulative in nature. For example, I work in the substance abuse space, so oftentimes we find individuals who want to be left alone and not to be questioned about their whereabouts and their specific behaviors. And so what they'll do is they'll spark up an argument with another individual in order for them to take the spotlight off of them and try to gaslight the other individual, or find ways to just kind of escape from being in the hot seat. And excuse me if I'm all over the place with explaining this, you guys. I'm really trying to list out the benefits and then also provide you with real life examples to make it plain so that you can understand it a little bit more clearer. But if there's any questions, as always, definitely hit the comment section below and I will definitely respond back to you as soon as possible. All right. The last benefit that we typically find ourselves experiencing when it comes to our maladaptive coping mechanisms is gaining a limited sense of control, especially during times where the situation may seem uncomfortable. It kind of goes back to learned helplessness, right? When we have this tendency of believing that life is happening to us rather than life happening for us, right? And I always tell my clients, at the end of the day, we are making choices every second, every minute, every hour, every day, every week, every month, and so on. And the reason why I really like to push that choice theory is because at the end of the day, we do have the power of choice. You getting out of bed, that's a choice. Thank God for the opportunity to wake up and open our eyes and have the full use of our limbs, but you utilizing those limbs is still a choice. You getting in your car, going to work on time is a choice. You pulling up to a job that you may or may not like is still a choice. You picking out the foods that you eat, that's still a choice. Even when you feel like you have these limited options, you still have choice. A maladaptive coping mechanism that usually falls under this pretense or this belief are people who have a tendency to shift blame, right? So the belief that it's everybody else's fault but our own, not taking ownership of our decisions or taking accountability for the direction of our lives, simply because that literally leads to feelings of guilt and shame because of the decisions that we made previously before that did not work out for us. So if I live in this mentality of, okay, I don't have much wiggle room in this particular situation, it puts the pressure off of me and it exerts it onto other individuals, which will obviously negatively impact our quality of life as well as our relationships with other individuals as well. So yes, y'all, check your benefits. Take that list that was previously created regarding your excuses, reasons, and justifications and see how they serve you, both negatively and positively, okay? I hope this video helped. Make sure that you are hitting the like button if you learned something new about yourself. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and definitely stay connected via Legacy SBKS on everything. Until next time.